Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know, and I'm enjoying some fresh air and sunshine outdoors at the local cemetery, and I'll give you a quick peek of what I'm seeing. It's a beautiful Sunday morning, and could not be a better temperature. I'm just really enjoying the air and the view here. So I want to talk in this video about negative numbers in a way that you might not have heard before, and also connected imaginary numbers, but the emphasis is on quantities that aren't exactly realistic, but make sense in terms of mathematics and solving equations, especially when you have a real-world problem that needs solving. And this is where negative numbers came from. This won't be a long video or a complicated video. Hopefully it'll be enlightening a little bit. So consider you've got something to build as a community or a government or just a single person, and you find yourself broke, right? So here's a real-world situation: being broke, having no resources or items to trade, no money of your own. Well, the thing about government is, of course, they have a treasury, don't they? They have a money printer. They are the sole authority in principle and in law of who can print money. And it turns out this affords them a unique opportunity in terms of using and leveraging negative numbers. So, like I said, somebody finds themselves in a situation where they want to build something or grow an industry or compensate somebody, or they have some kind of bill to pay, and they don't have enough money, or they wish they had more money, or they want to do more than one thing at a time, so to speak. And you only have what you have unless you use negative numbers. So here's the beauty of it. So you got your books, right? You got your accounting system, your banking system, and you say, all right, we're going to be broke if we spend X amount of money. This is all we have. We've taken inventory, we counted all of our cash, and we have this much, a hard number, right? So we have a project that would exceed that capacity, that balance that we have. We could not afford it, in other words, unless we go into the red. Right? So you have a red zone. That's what negative numbers are. You're in the red, and we're going to just print off a few extra, Benjamins here and there. We're going to, call it borrowing. We're going to call it debt, national debt, if you will. And we're going to, print a few extra Benjamins, pay these guys off. They can use that as real money. The job gets done, whatever it is. They can build their housing or whatever. And then next year, we're the government. We're not obligated to do anything specifically about it, so we'll just, keep going. We'll do it again next year, and the following year, and the following year. So now you understand the problem with national debt. It's not as complicated as people tell you. It's just using negative numbers to pay bills that you wouldn't be able to afford otherwise. And that negative number keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we call it national debt. And it's an interesting thing, I think. It's an interesting thing because now we are all living more than half of our lives based on a number that was never real, that we just keep taking and ledgering as if it was. So where is all this money coming from? Where are all these people, where's all this work coming from? These resources and we call them gross domestic products, or the product of our gross domestic economy output, which is our, the money that our country generates each year, our gross domestic product, our GDP. Maybe you've heard of that. And the debt finances a large part of this every single year, and it continues to grow, and we continue to grow willy-nilly as if we had all the money in the world. We just have infinite amounts of resources and money. Money is never an object for us, and we're going to just pay everybody that we decide to pay, regardless of what we have, regardless of how much actual currency is in the form of gold. This used to be a gold standard country. You've heard about Fort Knox. Fort Knox, ring a bell? It has actual gold in it. Presumably, I've not been there. I don't know if it still does, but it probably does. And historically, it definitely did. It used to back our financial system by way of having a real, actual measurable amount of value, so that if for some reason the bills were called, that they would be able to be paid, at least mostly. Now there isn't even remotely, at this time, enough gold or other sellable, liquidatable resources to pay even half of our bills as a country. And it's a huge problem because the more in debt we get, cracks start showing up in the veneer. Cracks start showing up where there isn't enough to go around, and this number's getting very scary now. It's in the dozens of billions of dollars, or trillions of dollars. It's such a large number that it's astronomical. And I don't have, you can easily look it up. It's not the point. The point is that there's no plan at this time to fix it, except to pave over the area, to destroy the banking system as we know it, to unplug everything, including the internet. And I'm not exaggerating. I've heard plans to this effect. And to start over from scratch with a clean slate, with a better idea, hopefully. But turns out you can't do that without a great deal of fallout, without a great deal of disruption of people's lives, and without a great deal of the element of surprise, if you know what that is, because a lot of people would object to such a thing for a lot of good reasons, not the least of which is they were failed to be consulted, they had no input, they have no involvement, and they don't have a claim necessarily to a livelihood in the new world after all that was rolled out. So, people who are living high on the hog at this time off of tax money and, banking revenue wouldn't necessarily be able to guarantee the same lifestyle for them and their families. So you would have a great deal of resistance and backlash if any kind of disruption to the current system were actually proposed or rolled out in earnest. So long story short, I'm just under 7 minutes. Negative numbers aren't something you can hold in your hand. They aren't real in the sense that you can, look at them, count them up. I mean, it's to solve equations that probably shouldn't have existed in the first place. And aside from recreational math, they usually do more harm than good in the effect that they have towards people's quality of life. Somebody is going to be paying interest above what they can afford, regardless of how you cut it, regardless of how you look at it. Someone comes out a winner and someone comes out a loser every time you overextend yourself as a lendee, I guess. A borrower is the word. And unfortunately, our country encourages this behavior, right? We encourage people to get credit cards. We encourage people to take out mortgages and car loans. And really, the world looks a lot different once you understand what's happening economically. When you look at the types of cars people are driving, compared even to like 50 years ago, the size of the cars, the number of people that have cars, the expectation of having a car, you could not build a car easily. Even if you could, you're not likely to have much of a life besides building a car if you had to do it based on your own resourcefulness. And this is a clue, okay? There's a clue here. You could not easily build your own house. You could not easily build your own car, or live in a society that you live in with the shopping centers and cities that you take for granted. And all of this stuff has been grown atop of a growing, scary negative number. It's been backed and founded upon a lie. And if you've been paying attention to the news, if you've been paying attention to podcasts, and, for whatever your opinion about Elon Musk is, he's said a lot about this. He knows some things about economics, and he has been highly vocal about the national debt becoming a larger problem in the near future. And it's one of those traps. It's a trap, and they're all right about it. Okay, so there's a big problem coming up. The problem is that we cannot continue this lifestyle that we collectively enjoy indefinitely. We can't. It's unsupportable. It's unsustainable, and there will be a disastrous conclusion if it is not somehow taken off of the current track and put onto one that is sustainable, that has a better plan, and unfortunately would represent a downgrade in a lot of the modern conveniences that have been born from the debt. So whether or not you agree with changing our economic system, one way or another, in the near future, it's going to change. whether it is in the form of war that destroys everybody, or some kind of total collapse of the economy, or another Great Depression that kills off a huge percentage of the population, or if it's a more structured and organized effort to get it back onto a new track, one way or another, it's going to change. So it's a matter of damage control, if you ask me. And this is just an informative video talking about negative numbers. I'm spitballing here, but it's a fact. It's an absolute fact. And yes, you live a nice lifestyle. Yes, you may live comfortably. Yes, you may not think you have a lot of problems, and you're being told there is no problem by your administrators. But there is most definitely a very large problem, and a huge number, a growing number of people are experiencing hardships right now. Economic, legal hardships, justice hardships, substance hardships, it's all connected. Social struggles are all related to the inability to make ends meet when it comes down to it. Something to think about, just count your blessings, but if you know some people who are slipping through the cracks, it's not necessarily their fault, and it's not what you're being told. And that's why I'm making this video. Reach out if you like with questions or comments to whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.